American people. How selfish are you if you're Bill Maher because you want a recession? Joining me right now from campusreform.org, Mr. Lawrence Jones, and Fox News contributor, Ms. Jessica Tarlov. Good to see you both.
Hey, Trish.
You know, I just don't get it, Lawrence. I mean, to me, at some point, you're all on the same team, right? At some point, we're all American citizens, and we should all want economic prosperity.
Yeah, I can tell you that both Democrats and Republicans were hit hard during the recession. I saw people go into depression. It was tough. And so to see Bill Maher say this, one thing I am glad, Trish, is that some of these people are finally showing us who they are. They don't care about the average day Americans. First of all, this is not a joke. This is not something that is funny. We're talking about real people's lives. And I'm sure Democrats, like my friend Jessica, don't agree with his comments.
I don't know. Jessica, what do you think?
No, I definitely don't agree with those comments.
I don't like what Bill Maher said either.
No, I absolutely don't. It's also not true that that's the choice that we have. In Madeleine Albright's new book, she actually writes about how the route to authoritarianism is through a bad economy, and that's how dictators rise to power. So what's going on here is not at all the end result that he would be thinking. It sends a bad message. It also lends itself to a million ads that are going to be cut for the 2018 cycle and the 2020 cycle with Nancy Pelosi and Bill Maher and other people dismissing economic gains that Americans are feeling. There is another route towards making an argument.
Jessica,
what?
It's like he's on our payroll. I mean, at this point, between him and Nancy.
I don't think you guys can afford him, actually.
Well, him and Nancy are giving us free campaign ads. I mean, I literally don't understand some of their comments. It's like they are so tone deaf to the American people. It's one thing to dislike Trump, but at least applaud his success of improving the economy. These are the forgotten people that he campaigned for.
I mean, this is part of the Democratic Party's problem overall, and this is what they need to try and get away from. I mean, when I think, and I've said this many times, but you guys are going to hear it again, I grew up in an Irish Catholic family, and you were a Democrat like you were Irish and like you were Catholic, right? You didn't have any choice. In fact, when I first went down to the town hall to register to vote, the woman didn't even ask me. She just checked Democrat right in the box. I am an independent now. But that was a decision I had to make. The Democrat was being made for me because of my historical background. But I came from a family of laborers. And Jessica, you know, this is the group that I think they have increasingly missed. These laborers, people who worked in the manufacturing industry, that used to be sort of the lifeblood of the Democratic Party. And in part because of a failed choice of their candidate, they lost that, and they are increasingly seeming out of touch. So how do you bring it? Who are the people in the party right now to bring that mojo back?
Well, I think a lot of the younger upstarts, we've talked a lot about Connor Lamb, for instance. There are a lot of people out of Virginia that we've seen. In California, there are people really getting things going. I'm a big fan of Sherrod Brown, who's the senator in Ohio, who is beloved by progressives and moderates alike. And he agrees with Trump on tariffs, for instance, and we'll have that.
Tim Ryan, too.
Tim Ryan as well, who ran against Nancy Pelosi. So I think, you know, giving a larger platform to younger members of the party who have innovative ideas and also are moderate if they're in a moderate district. But in terms of why we in terms of the laborers being why we lost the election, so in total it was 77,000 votes that decided it between 3 states. A lot of that has to do with laborers and working class Americans, but it's also the African American vote, which was down substantially in this election from Barack Obama's 2012 election. So I think there's focus on both of those areas, but we shouldn't ignore
Is that why, Lawrence, they always try and paint Donald Trump as a racist? I mean, I've said there's probably, I know you're going to tell me he is, but there's nothing you can say about something perhaps worse than they're a racist. I mean, that is not who we are as Americans. And so when they start throwing out accusations like that, Lawrence, it seems to me they are lowering the bar. They are going for the jugular in a way that that's all they know how to do, because clearly they don't understand that consumer confidence is at an 18-year high or that the economy is growing.
Well, the problem, Trish, is that those are nice emotional arguments, but the proof is in the pudding. Is the president delivering when it comes to my community? Now, are there some things that he said that I found problematic?
I mean, you've got the lowest unemployment for Black Americans right now. Same with Hispanics. I mean, this is good stuff.
Right, and like I said, you can be critical of some of the things that the president said. I have myself. But at the end of the day, when I look at the benefits that he's been able to do and the policies that he's been able to implement that directly benefit my community, how can you not support him after 8 years of a guy that got 90-some% of the black vote, yet didn't deliver? Other groups, he was able to deliver for them, but specifically for the black community, you didn't see a lot of progress.
You know, the sad thing about those Obama years, though, I will tell you, is that, you know, I'm someone who believed in all that opportunity that he represented. And, you know, there was a part of me that was very excited to think what a historic moment that was, that we had our first African-American in office. And what's so sad is that I think race relations, and the numbers will prove this out because we've looked at some of the polls, are worse today than they were pre-President Obama. So the guy who had the opportunity, the world right there in his hand, Jessica, he blew it.
I wouldn't say that he blew it, and I think we could obviously have a million other segments discussing Obama and the legacy there and what that means for the African-American community. I know that we are more divided racially than we have ever been before. A large amount of that has to do with issues of criminal justice reform and police brutality, and I think it's at its worst rate since the LA riots. So that's nothing to write home about. It is continuing to get worse under this president who has exacerbated those trends. If you look at what goes on, for instance, around the NFL protests, and that he would go to a rally and call NFL players SOBs, which is not something that I think anyone on this panel would support him in. You know that this is a trend line that is unfortunately continuing to go in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I think that we're going to see a lot of Democrats and a lot of members of the left really try and use this race issue, though, as a divisive one to rally the African-American vote. But it's going to be hard, Lawrence, when if you're an African-American, you're saying, you know, things are actually improving for me and my community and my friends and my family. And when you see the job rate now as strong as it is, I mean, it's going to really counter some of this other noise, shall we say. So facts versus noise. Anyway, Lawrence, it's great to see you. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks,
Jessica, as always, love it.
Yeah.
And I like the color of your dress.
We're twinning a little with a white fringe.
Good to see you.
Thanks so much, Trish.
All right, coming up, everyone, President Trump will be the first sitting U.S.